The Founders of Hogwarts, Part 1, Episode 11. Written and performed by Amanda K. Skelton. Inspired by the wizarding world of Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. Fade in. Exterior, Londonwick Street. Next day. Rowena walks through the middle of the town, keeping her daughter close by. Helena drags her heels in the ground from boredom. Can you tell me where we're going, Mother? Could, but it would spoil the surprise. Helena's ears perk up along with her feet. Surprise? Am I getting a new dress? Or maybe a broom? Or perhaps an owl? Can I pick out the colour? I was thinking something a bit more useful. They stop in front of a covered cart. Rowena knocks on the door, and a canvas shop sign rolls down reading, Ollivanders, makers of fine wands since 382 BC. Helena covers her mouth, unable to control her excitement. Cut to. Interior, Ollivanders cart, wand shop, continuous. Helena's eyes light up as they enter the dazzling shop that's considerably bigger on the inside. From floor to ceiling, every nook and cranny is stuffed with slender packages of all colors and sizes. Rowena leisurely enters and takes off her coat. Hello? Anyone here? An airy female voice greets her. Lady Rowena Ravenclaw, formerly from the House of Spectre in Hollowell. A gracefully aged woman with fine grey hair and pale blue eyes steps out from behind a tall shelf. 11 1/4 inches, elm, bone of a sphinx, very sharp, nearly unbreakable. I remember you promising me it'd keep me out of trouble. The woman's eyes stare just past Rowena's shoulder. I promised it would help you out of trouble, not avoid it entirely, and I can sense that it has. Rowena smiles at the woman. This is my daughter, Helena. Rowena draws Helena close, and the woman leans down, gently guiding her palm an inch over Helena's face. Helena stares back, skeptical. The woman smiles. Very exciting to meet you. I'm Geraldine Ollivander. I need to take some measurement. Geraldine draws out her wand, and the shiny spell lines float around Helena, taking her height, shoulder, arm, cuff, finger, and palm length. Geraldine locates a ledger and a quill. Helena can't help herself. Are you blind? I am. How can you make wands if you can't see? Rowena kindly scolds her daughter. Helena. Geraldine grins, waving her wand in front of Helena. I can see with more than just my eyes. It's how I know your father's wand is in your pocket. The wand magically floats into the air. Helena watches in awe as the wand dances through the new spell lines. This is a good wand. 13 inches, birch, double strand of dragon's heartstring. Strong, but pliable, good for healing. The spell lines dissolve around Roclerus's wand, and Rowena catches the wand in midair. The spell lines go back to measuring Helena. Geraldine continues tapping dots onto the ledger as she speaks. Now you should know no two wands are alike, and each you see here has been crafted by hand by myself or my brother. We guarantee that you will look no further for the perfect wand than these shelves here, and if need be, I'll make the right one here and now, if it's not already been made. The examination is over, and Geraldine rolls out a dozen plain-looking wands on a nearby counter. And remember, the wand chooses the wizard. Helena looks down at the wands, wrinkling her nose. Some of these aren't very pretty. That's because they're wands, Helena, not crowns. Just like my great niece, she also has an eye for beauty. I think the right wand will become more appealing once you found it. Geraldine hands Helena the first of many wands. Cut to. Rowena makes her way through the shop, looking at all the different styles and packages. She crosses to the last shelf and sees a familiar young wizard with dark hair holding several wands in his hand. Alame? The young man turns to face Rowena. Professor? Alame, what are you doing here? I thought you were forging for the King of West Francia. I am. I was meddling with a new bronze bending spell, and it sort of... Alame shows his broken wand barely hanging on by a splinter, the silvery core leaking out. Rowena crosses her arms. Did you soak the metal before plying it? Twice, but the forge was too hot. She throws him a look that he should have known better. He beats her to her words. I know. Well, I'm glad you didn't curse your hands off. As am I. He fidgets nervously. I'm sorry you got sacked. Is there anything I could do? What's done is done. It all sort of worked out for the best, though. So it's true you're building your own school? It's about bloody time. Thank you, but it's a bit harder getting a school together than one would think. Have you found a location? Helena comes bouncing through the stacks. Mum, look! Helena shows off her new wand. 12 1/2 inches, alder, and just like father's. It's dragon heartstring. Rowena beams. Congratulations, darling. Helena's excitement turns to quiet nervousness when she notices Alame. Everyone waits for Helena to introduce herself, or to at least say hi. She does neither. Helena, your manners? Helena blinks back to life. Yes. Hello, Master Alame. Alame bows to Helena. Hello, Lady Helena. She turns to her mother. Mum, can I go? Yes, but just don't break, steal, or set anything on fire. Yes, ma'am. Helena races off, pointing her wand, making spell noises with her mouth. Rowena smiles and goes back to the conversation with Alame. What are we discussing? They both stand in silence, thinking back. You were looking for a location. Right, yes. Location has been the first hurdle. After the burning of Glen, location is more important than ever. Somewhere secret and safe, but accessible and spacious. Alame smiles to himself. I think I can help you there. Cut to exterior London Wick Street. Later, a large black and gold carriage waits outside of Rowena's home. Rowena, her daughter, and the other founders gather by. Alame walks up with a small bag over his shoulder. Alame, I'd like to introduce you to everyone. You remember Lord Slytherin? Salazar tilts his head to Alame. Yes, hello again, my lord. Rowena continues. And this is Miss Hufflepuff and Captain Gryffindor. Helga and Godric curtsy and bow to Alame, and he does the same, but his eyes light up at the sound of Godric's name. Captain Gryffindor. It's an honor to meet you. My mum is a huge fan. She knows of all your victories. She makes meals inspired by your bravery. Godric chuckles. Really? Your mother sounds like a delight. We mustn't keep her waiting, shall we? He points to the carriage. Cut to interior carriage. Later. Everyone gathers inside the moving carriage, which is the size of 2 small rooms. Rowena and Salazar sit, looking busy over buildings and power drawings. Godric and Helga share a table with drinks and play a card game. And Helena sits in the corner reading a book, working on her sleight of hand. Alame grabs himself a drink and carefully makes his way to a seat. May I? Godric looks up. Of course. And makes room for Alame to sit. Helga shuffles the cards. Do you play cards, Master Alame? I do. Mostly count here and lie low. We're playing quad. Heard of it? I have. May I join? Please. I've been trying to beat Miss Hufflepuff at this game since she and I first met. Helga smirks. I have home court advantage since I helped write the rules for this game. Alame throws Helga a confused look. The rules? The game's 1,000 years old. A high priestess and a wand maker created this game. Helga shuffles the deck like a dealer in Vegas. Alame is stunned by such a unique skill. Godric has his game face on. Helga passes out the cards. Friendly reminder, the person with the most cards at the end of the game wins. They begin the game, exchanging and placing certain cards right side up and others sideways. They chat as they play. So what do you do, Master Alame? I forge armor for the king of West Francia and his armies. Godric's face turns sour. West Francia? That king is a tyrant. He's killed more creatures in his walls than the population of people that serve him. Allegedly. Excuse me? Helga chimes in. No, Master Alame's right. There's no proof of his numerous slaughters. I think it's just a hearsay to scare other kingdoms. I've seen his armies and their destruction. You saw the edge of a battlefield in Essex with bloodless negotiations, and woke up 3 days later in Northumbria with gold at your feet. There's something else going on. I know it. We were poisoned. How and by what? It's been 3 years since that incident, and what new information do you have? Helga places a card down, taking more of Godric's cards. I understand reputations are everything, but we must not think less of Master Alame for going where the work is. The king wasn't my first choice, but he was hiring. Helena pops her head from her book. What about Queen Emma, the Witch Queen of Britain? Couldn't you work for her? They all turn their attention to Helena. Alame considers her question. I would work for Queen Emma in a heartbeat, but her entire staff of black and goldsmiths come directly from the Forteau family. I know it's not very romantic, but couldn't you find a way to marry into the name? I would if their sons weren't elitist and their daughters didn't lack artisanship. Helena nods. That's fair. She goes back to her book. Alame stares down at his cup. Besides, I'd rather go where my talents are appreciated and encouraged. Helga nods, but Godric scowls down at the cards in his hand. Even if that means your armor stands to be used on the wrong side of history. Godric tosses a card on the table, and it's a tense moment between the two men as they stare at each other. Alame surrenders his stack of cards to Godric. Whose history, Captain? Surely even you are not a hero to all. I am a hero to those who stand on the side of the righteous. And remind me, Captain Gryffindor, which side of the sword is that? Alame plays his hand. Godric's eyes widen in surprise as Alame claims all but 2 of Godric's cards. Godric opens his mouth to retort, but Helga silences him. This is a discussion I've already sat through many times. She plays her cards, causing her stack to move to Godric's side. Godric, you are an excellent soldier who fights with honor, and you are a hero to those who could not be a hero to themselves. And Master Alame? She places a card in front of Alame, moving his stack of cards back to her side. I must say I enjoy your candor. Not many question the idea of what it means to be right, especially with our captain here. Therefore I must declare that both of you are correct in your stance. I'm afraid that won't sit right with our captain. I've never heard of a battle where both sides win. They do when women are in charge. Godric motions to Helga as she plays her last card, and all the card stacks set equally on the table. Alame is dumbfounded. That's not possible. This is a game of wins. How did you do that? Helga plays it cold. coy as she collects all the cards for another round. Strategy in practice, and it's much easier when players are distracted. But if we're all equal, that means no one wins. It defeats the purpose of the game. He's like you, Captain. But it is possible to win without a loss, not just on paper. Then why play at all? Doesn't the point of losing give winning true meaning? Helga's jovial spirit turns serious. Alame worries he might have offended Helga. Miss, I'm sorry, was it something I said? No, sorry, I'm just having deja vu. What's deja vu? You ask the purpose as to why I play. She motions to Godric, who answers. Because she knows it flies me up a wall. I can't stand a draw. Mark my words, Miss Hufflepuff. I'm gonna win one of these days. Tell me how to pull the sword out of your hat and I'll give you a hint. The cart suddenly comes to a halt. Everyone looks around curious. We're here. Cut to exterior northern Scotland, rural road, day. The carriage stops on a winding, muddy road. The door opens and everyone exits, starting with Alame, followed by Rowena, Helena, Helga, Salazar, and lastly Godric. They look around curious. Alame can't help but be a little proud. Welcome to Hogsmeade. Their excitement turns to disappointment. The village is not a thriving metropolis of either Glen nor Londonwick. It's more like a sad, rainy town covered in gray overcast. Cut to exterior Hogsmeade Street, day. Alame leads the company down the street. A handful of gloomy residents carry on with their daily lives, trudging in and out of shops. They all stop in front of a charming cottage. A sign swinging in the wind reads, 2 brooms. This is where I grew up. Rowena does her best to smile. It's quaint. Cut to interior 2 brooms, main dining room. Continuous. They enter into a cozy but completely empty tavern. I hope we can find a seat. They plop themselves down on an uncomfortably small table. Rowena sits next to Salazar and Godric next to Helga. Helena sits at the end. Good afternoon. An excited, rosy-cheeked witch suddenly appears out of thin air at their table, startling them a bit. Welcome to Hogsmeade, the place between coming and going. What can I start you off with? Roasted schooling, stuffed goblin in a summer sauce, raw dragon's tongue? The founders and Helena all look at each other, not really hungry. Mum! She turns, her arms open wide, giving her son a hug. Alame! You're home! Is everything all right? Did something happen in West Francia? No, Mum, I'm fine. I still very much have a job with the king. She places her hand over her heart, relieved. Oh, bless the stars. Mum, this is everyone. Everyone, this is my mum, Imelda. Everyone bows and curtsies. Oh, yes, I remember you all now. Professor Ravenclaw, Lord Slytherin, always nice to see you. Imelda clutches her metaphorical pearls. Oh my, is that Captain Gryffindor? He stands and kneels. Alame's mother's eyes light up as she gives him a double take. The Captain Gryffindor, who led 100 men against the waves of Belgium and freed those people from a wicked regime. Actually, it was a dozen of us against an army of them. Imelda swoons. Everyone else rolls their eyes. It is an honor to have such a noted hero in Hogsmeade. Sit. I'll bring out food. Cut to food scatters over 2 tables as everyone feasts with Alame and his mother. The atmosphere is cheery and warm. Imelda flirts between Godric and Salazar, but Salazar keeps stealing glances from Helga. Alame is too embarrassed by his mother and gets up and takes several empty dishes to the kitchen. Helga's eyes follow Alame. Cut to interior 2 brooms kitchen, afternoon. He stacks the dishes almost too high for them to stand. Let me help. Alame turns to see Helga enter into the kitchen. He bats her away. Nonsense, you're a guest. He washes the pan, but the grease stays tacked onto the bottom. Takes more than water to wash away goblin's flesh. She snaps her fingers and orange bubbles settle the pan. So, working directly for the king means you're quite the smithy. I assume in addition to armor, you work with weapons, metals, and the like. I do. Helga keeps her voice light. What about documents? You forged any of those? Alame throws her a dark look. What line drew you to that conclusion? That's not a no. And I can make it worth your while. You don't have to answer me today, but keep it in mind, yeah? She smiles at him. Cut to interior 2 brooms, main dining hall, afternoon. Alame and Helga exit the kitchen and return to the others. Alame, did you hear? Captain Gryffindor's thinking about building a school. Yes, Mum, that's why they're here. Imelda doesn't hear her son, and she speaks to the 4 founders. Would you give Alame a job if something happened to him in West Francia? He's a quick learner, so it might make him a good teacher. Actually, Mum, I was hoping we could show them the lot. Imelda gives her son a confused look. Why? It's a horrible stretch of land. It's not worth the grass that grows on it. Mum, I've never set foot there if I can help it. Mum, they're interested in the lot. Alame throws his mother a look to please play along, and she sits up in a chair. Oh, right, yes. Cut to exterior, Hogsmeade, outskirts, continuous. Everyone hikes up the side of a cliff. Salazar escorts Rowena, both panting and holding the stitches in their side as they move closer and closer to the top. Helga and Helena march ahead, mostly unfazed, and taking the lead is Emilda being escorted by Godric. I remember a time when Alame was 10. He ran up these hills naked trying to catch garden pixies who stole his clothes. Alame's cheeks flush red. Mum, Emilda jerks back on Godric. Sorry, Captain, this is where I stop. Why, is everything all right? Alame catches up, encouraging Godric to keep moving. Godric lets go of Emilda, curious to see what all the fuss is about. Alame confronts his mother. There's nothing wrong with the land. It's cursed. It's not cursed, Mum. Try explaining that to the people who lived here and then poof, gone. Mum, some people just move away without a trace. Just leave their belongings behind. Alame doesn't have a good response, but Godric is the first to reach the edge. His mouth hangs open at the sight. Salazar, Helga, and even Helena follow his reaction as they reach the top. Rowena is the last to see. Over the edge is a beautiful, lush valley, a crystal clear lake, and a breathtaking mountain range. It is a sight to behold. I think this'll do just fine. Cut to interior 2 rooms, main dining room. Evening. Mounds of galleons, sickles, and nuts pour onto the table. The founders empty their purses and pouches, counting. We have 500 galleons, 614 sickles, and 12 nuts. Helena drops her money on the table. Everyone smiles at her contribution. I can get 3 times that amount by next week. I can match it. Name your price, Master Alame. Emilda throws a serious look at her son. She leans into him and whispers, regardless of your own beliefs, they have a right to know the history. She pats her son on the shoulder and he frowns at Rowena. Can I have a word? Cut to exterior Hogsmeade Street. Continuous. They walk through the street, watching the poor townsfolk. They pass by the Hog's Head and an Allery. Alame speaks more to himself than Rowena. I couldn't wait to leave this place when I was younger. Small, poor, magical village terrorized by darkness, forgotten by the crown. And now I've come back. It was never this bad. We always remember things differently than how they were. He suddenly stops. My mum is right, though. There's a reason this land's remained unvisited by any sovereign. They stop in front of the tree line. The branches twist in odd formations as Alame speaks. We slowly zoom past the trees into the dark heart of the forest. The forest is said to be a ruinous host of some of the darkest, most evil of magical creatures. The people of Hogsmeade are forbidden to set foot past the tree line, and any person who crosses into the dark, a pair of sinister eyes cut into red slits glows in darkness, has yet to return. A blood-curdling shriek breaks the silence. Cut to interior 2 rooms, main dining hall, continuous. The scream echoes through the 2 rooms and aims right at Salazar. It spooks him and he knocks his glass over, spilling juice. Whoa, careful. Watch it! Did you hear that? Helga and Godric, who share the same table as him, also share the same puzzled looks. Helena looks over her book. Hear what? Salazar stands waving his wand, cleaning up his glass. He looks around, concerned, and goes to investigate the sound. Helena watches him leave and then puts up her own book and walks after him. Godric and Helga watch Helena leave after Salazar. I hope everything's all right. It should be. Lord Slytherin's a smart man. So what do you think of our Lord Slytherin? I find myself unable to form a proper opinion of a man whom I spend so little time with. Helga isn't buying Godric's response. You've danced with him, and you always have an opinion of the people you dance with. Surely that must... Helga looks down at the stacks of money, and her hands have transformed into wood. She looks over in shock and sees Godric, his fingers molded into the wooden table with slumped shoulders. His body shudders upright, and his brown eyes turn red. He stares at Helga, his voice deep and grovelly. You're too close. Helga freaks out and jolts out of her chair. Godric shakes off his trance, his hands free from the table. Helga looks down, her hands are also treeless. Godric continues his conversation, unaware of what just happened. Dancing is only good if the partner, if it's one-on-one, not with people. Helga, are you alright? Yeah, She looks him up and down cautiously. I'm fine. Godric isn't convinced. Helga, you're as pale as the fangs of a sick vampire. I've known you for some time and I've never seen you in fear. Not even when we first met behind enemy lines. And it's concerning me to the point of lover's distress. Helga flattens her hands on her dress. It's fine. She opens her arms, distracting them both. Dance with me, Helga. Please, Captain. You owe me a dance, do you not? I do. It works and he stands, taking her in his arms. And they dance to music only they can hear. Cut to exterior Hogsmeade Street, continuous. Salazar walks outside looking for the origin of the scream. He walks to the edge of the forest. The trees shake around him as whispers get louder. He looks down to find his hands covered in blood. Salazar staggers back, shocked and confused, wiping his hands, trying to find the source of his wound. But each time he wipes on his robe, staining his chest, the blood gets thicker. A friendly voice calls out to Salazar. Uncle Sal, is everything all right? Helena appears behind him. Salazar looks down and his hands are clean. I'm fine. I'm getting some air. Did you find what you were looking for? Salazar looks back at the trees. They shift in the breeze like normal. No, fortunately I did not. I'm so sorry. Is that why you look like your favorite star just fell out of the sky? No, because she fell right in front of me. Helena smiles and goes to Salazar. She suddenly stops right in front of him. What's wrong with your hands? He quickly looks down, panicked, his hands wide open. Helena's wand hovers over his palms and a small daisy grows with short white petals. Oh, nothing, they're just full. Relieved, Salazar continues. That's very good. 8 soul in the thumbs. He's touched by her magic, and she smiles up at him. Fade to black. Fade in. Exterior, London Wick Street, next day. Through the busy street is Petra, dressed in short, handsome, tailored robes, hobbling along with a cane. He comes to a halt watching as witches and wizards prepare for battle in a small yard. They jump, leap, run, and dodge through basic training. It's an impressive display of physical exertion. Among the soldiers walks Lieutenant Vance, supervising the training with cold, serious eyes. The short, stocky corporal stops training and salutes the lieutenant. Permission to speak, sir. Permission granted. Where is Captain Gryffindor, sir? He's never missed training. He's busy. No need to worry. Sergeant First Class pipes up. Permission to speak, sir. Permission granted. So with all due respect, the captain should be here. He should, but he's not. We'll be fine on our own until he gets back. A tall, blonde wizard wearing the insignia for Sergeant Major steps forward. I heard he's not coming back. I heard he's failing at building a school. The men laugh. Lieutenant Vance does not. I don't remember giving you permission to speak, Sergeant Major. The mocking laughter dies out quickly among the men, and they all stand at attention. Vance squares up to the blonde soldier. Tell me something, Sarge. You want to be smart or you want to be strong today? I'm just saying it's a waste of everyone's time pretending that Captain Gryffindor was the teacher first and a soldier second. Lieutenant Vance stares back at the blonde wizard with anger, but he knows the Sergeant Major is right, so he diverts the subject. How can the captain waste your time when your time doesn't belong to you? Vance addresses everyone in the company. Let the man enjoy his leave. He deserves it after the heads collected in our last battle. Lieutenant Vance turns his back to the Sergeant Major, who gets in one last word. Allegedly. Vance stops, fuming. So you decided to be strong today. Everyone, wands down, face down! They all groan and follow orders, getting into push-up position, balancing on hands and toes. Vance gets super close to the blonde Sergeant Major. Next time you want to question Captain Gryffindor's integrity, you do it to his face. You stop when I get tired of counting. 1. They all dip in unison. 1. 2. 2. Meanwhile, Petra watches the regiment doing push-ups, inspired by the uniformity. A tired voice calls off screen. Petra, how are you? Nordahl comes sauntering in, covering his mouth with a blood-spotted handkerchief. I'm fine. His son's eyes jump back to the soldiers. The healer said I'll be fit enough to join the military once I'm fully healed. Nordahl makes no effort to hide the sharp disapproval in his voice. The field of battle is no place for the son of a lord. It's a noble profession, being a colonel or a captain, serving crown and country. It is a barbaric profession that be left to those who are not related to me. Nordahl's mouth seizes up in pain and he spits out blood. But this is not a discussion, Petra. Once you have no use of that cane, you will carry on the tradition of this family and attend court. Petra's eyes fall to the ground, defeated. But a dark blue cloak slips around the corner, catching Nordahl's attention. He's quick with the look, but his suspicion stays. Good. I'll see you at home. Don't be late. Petra does not watch his father leave, but he can't bear to steal one last glance at the training. He mopes away, his heart in his shoes. Then suddenly, something brushes by, startling him. On a dime he spins around, but there's nothing out of the ordinary. Then a disembodied whisper hangs in the air, and Petra has little time to react as his body freezes in place. A moment of stillness goes by before Petra's wand slips from his coat sleeve and into his palm. The tip of the wand glows, and the sound of ice cracking quickly follows. Petra breaks free of his constraints and steadies himself on his cane. A blue-cloaked figure appears in front of Petra. The hood lifts. Professor? Rowena beams kindly at her former student. Good spacing of the fingers as the body locked up and last-second drop of the arm. Perfect execution of a non-verbal, no-movement counter-curse. Full marks. I was taught by the best. What are you doing here? I came to see how you were getting along and make sure you wouldn't make the same error again. Even when class is over, you're still teaching. Sorry for my father's actions against you. Don't be. As a parent, I understand his measures. I am sorry for your injuries. Petra holds up a hand. Bygones be bygones. As you've just proved, I won't drop my wand again. What are you doing now? I'm building a school. Really? Where? North. Far north. The town where Alame's from. Is it like Hogsale? Hogsmeade has a gorgeous plot of land. She edges closer to Petra, nodding to the military training across the way. I've not given up, and neither should you. Take care of yourself, Petra. And you as well, Professor. Rowena makes her exit, but Petra lingers with one last determined look before limping away in the opposite direction. Slowly, the scene opens up, revealing Nordahl listening to the conversation from behind a nearby wall. He apparates away. Cut to. Interior, Nordahl's office, continuous. Nordahl walks through his office, still wiping his mouth. He snaps his fingers and Allard apparates a second later. Yes, my lord? Nordahl stands in front of the row of jealous orchids that slowly die on the table. Do you know what these are, Allard? Allard stays quiet for a moment. You don't know, or you don't want to say it out loud? Jealous orchids are forbidden by the queen. That's not what they do, though, is it? No, my lord. Nordahl takes up one of the plants and rubs his fingers across the petals. Then tell me, Allard, why are jealous orchids so unjustly forbidden by the crown? They are used to fuse magical beasts together, creating chimeras. But chimeras are only allowed to form in nature. It's against the laws of wizards to dabble in works of Greek gods. Nordahl nods, burning the handkerchief in his hand and pulling out a new one out of his desk. Did you find what I asked for? Allard goes pale. I did. Cut to. Interior Nordahl's home, dungeon, continuous. They enter to the sound of chains clanging against the floor, and their breath goes visibly ice cold. Nordahl is unfazed by the temperature drop, but Allard goes pale with fright. Where did you find it? It was in the burnt school rubble at Glen. There wasn't a soul in sight, so we found it wandering. Nordahl smirks, his eyes lighting up in delight. In the center of the room is a Dementor chained to the floor. It struggles to break free, but the guardians surrounding it keep zapping it with magic. This would do just fine for our little raven. Cut to black.